wanted to show you some of these things, and I want to know what you guys think. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this video. He's standing behind him looking like the vice president.
Well, thank you very much. We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this
Just one thing?
city of
Oh
ours
boy.
that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. And he beat them easily. And I congratulated him. And
I think Trump is saying that because he doesn't like Cuomo, but at the same time, like, give him props. He's giving him props. Let's see what else he says.
we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. That anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York.
Anything
we
you
got
do,
them
huh?
Down, way down from last year. We have, as you know, I've been saying to a lot of people, Walmart said that Thanksgiving this year is exactly 25% less than last year. So that's good for New York, good for everybody. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they shook hands.
I appreciated the
They don't hate
meeting
each
with
other.
the President, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on shared admiration and love, which is New York
Hey,
City,
yo, what
and
happened?
the need to deliver
It's a wild
affordability
cut.
to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the President, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
I think they're just being nice. I don't know.
Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for the mayor-elect.
Uh-oh.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mdani as a communist. Could you describe why you feel that way? And also,
Hey.
will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we did.
Oh, he threw two hot shells at him. He hit him with two Mario Kart red shells right there. Damn. Let's see what Trump says.
Discuss your second part of the question, and on your first part,
Wait, what? Go back.
well, we didn't discuss your second part of the question. And on
They
your
didn't
first
talk about
part, He's
Netanyahu?
got views that a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot.
Just a little out there.
When I first came to office, it's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. And some very liberal people, he won't surprise them because they already like him.
Sheesh. He didn't really answer the question. And somebody put in the chat, do you really think Trump means what he says about Mdani? Honestly, I don't know, man. I really don't know. One thing that I will say about Trump is the fact that he knows how to negotiate and come to the table. He's willing to come to the table. He might call you all kinds of names. He might say all kinds of things, but he always is willing to come to the table and talk. If we know anything, we know that he loves New York. I would like to believe that Mdani loves New York. So when you put these two together, can great things happen? I can see great things happening, but also the other side of the coin is I can see bad things happening. It really just all depends on what Mdani does, how he executes his plan, and the only thing we really have on our side would be time. Time is going to show us whether his ideas are good or they're bad. And, there was a lot of crucifixion of Mdani at first because a lot of things that he said, for some people, didn't make sense. And I can say I was one of those people who criticized him a little bit because some of the things that he said didn't make sense to me. But now, if you do, let's say 50% of the things let's say you were able to lower rent, you were able to allow builders to build more housing in New York. You're able to reduce the price of goods in New York for lower income, for people who have lower incomes to be able to afford more, and you're able to provide child care as well, and it doesn't cause problems. I could see it as a win. Do we know if it's going to cause problems? We really don't know. We don't know. To answer the question, my overarching point, or the overall point for me would be is I'm not really sure if I believe Trump about what he says about Mandani, but I can bet that he does want New York to succeed, and if that means that working with Mandani would make New York a better place, Trump will do it. And I think also if Trump is petty, then Mandani will have a back. Will have an out, and will be able to say, "Oh, well, we didn't get the support we should have from the president, so that's why my plans failed." While if Trump does, or if Trump allows Mandani to do the things that he wants to do, and they do fail, then Trump can throw his hands up in there and say, "Hey, I didn't get in the way, so his plans just didn't work." So it could be a win-win for Trump regardless. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from BBC in a second. But first of all, to the Mayor-elect. You're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though. And I just wonder to what extent the President's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign.
Well, I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare. And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about, as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focus on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
Yeah, I said this before. I think he ran kind of the same campaign that Trump ran, basically focusing on the things that people wanted or want their political leaders to focus on. We all just want pursuit of happiness. It's really that simple. We want to be able to have a good job that pays good so we can pay our bills, we can own a home, and we're not slaughtered when we go buy anything, or we're not living paycheck to paycheck. It's really simple. It really is.
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices, because, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. If we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering the rates.
Absolutely.
I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Condemn socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about
What does that even
ideology,
mean, bro?
but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify.
That's the shit that frustrates me about him. I'm a democratic socialist. What does that even mean? Like, I don't even know. It's just to me, it just sounds so oxymoronic. Like, socialism is not democratic. So it's just like, how does that work? Now that you might pull some things out of socialism and put them into democracy, okay, fine. I think here in the United States we have some things that are that would be considered part of socialism, but like a democratic socialist, I don't know. That term just bugs me. Maybe it's a me department problem here. All right, maybe that's just me.
And I want to clarify that your answer to Stephen Nelson, he asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was
Non-existent.
Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Back up. Hey, yo. Sorry about that. We had some connection issues. It's not my bad.
I wanted to ask
Oh
also,
my God.
about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
See, this is why people like Trump. You see what he just did there? The reporter literally tried to back him into a corner and try to back Mandani into a corner. And what did Trump do? Trump was like, bro, it's all right. You can call me a fascist. Don't worry about it. Like, this is what people voted for. I know a lot of people don't like Trump, and I understand that. And I'm not even trying to like change your mind. I just think about it from this perspective. That right there is what a normal, everyday person would have done. It's really that simple. Like, you're just trying to squash the beef. You're trying to get over it, trying to get around it, whatever the case might be. What do? You crack a joke. You crack a joke. It's all right, bro. You call me a fascist. Just say yes. Like, it's that simple. You clear the air, you answer the question, and you're able to move on.
Mr. President,
All right.
Mr. President,
Come on, get back to the good questions.
Mr. Mdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that be a question that both of you could answer in New York City.
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign, was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics, so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
You know, we had some
That's a good
interesting
answer.
conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. You know, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in it?
Mr. President, thank you so much. Mr. Mdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law. Is that at odds with?
No, I don't know. Would you want to? Do you want to respond? To
Yeah,
that?
I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about, and something that I know many New Yorkers want. We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
What we did is we discussed crime. More than ICE per se, we discussed crime. And he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction, and he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually, people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
It's gonna be a good time to be a builder in New York.
Jack?
Mr. President, I wanted to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities.
Ooh, here we go.
Taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general, and so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform, because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in
But
our
to be
city.
clear, you're continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no,
Yes, it is.
the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
I don't know. I mean, if you say we're gonna tax more white people, that kind of says you're gonna do it by race. It is what it is. But hey, we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. I think that's the only question that I would offer pushback. That, and then obviously the ICE question. And also the fascist question, even though Trump kind of was like, laughed it off. But those are something that those are maybe 3 questions right there that I wanted to see a better explanation or a more in-depth explanation.
Please, go ahead.
Mr. Mdani, anti-Israel protesters just targeted a synagogue in New York. Are you concerned about Jewish New Yorkers feeling welcome and safe in the city? And President Trump, you threatened to cut off federal funding to New York City. What policies would prompt you to do that? Would that be city-run grocery stores? Would it be something else?
Ooh,
Well,
that's
I
a
think
good
if
question.
we didn't get along, whether it's cut off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much, we want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. And we don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I did say that, subject to what policies are being said. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with. Now, we may disagree how we get there. The rent coming down, I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step. No, I don't expect. I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
I think you missed an opportunity there to really, again, elaborate. And when is it really, how many times do you really see a president elaborate when he's challenged like that? Or even just an interview where our politicians elaborate on something like that? So I kind of get that as well. But I think that was a really good question. It's like, what would prompt you to cut funding to New York City, right? Like what laws would prompt you to not give him the funds that they need to run the city? And he kind of glossed right over that. But also, the other thing I noticed was that Mdani didn't answer his question, which was, are Jewish New Yorkers welcome in New York City? Because he asked them straightforward. He said it. Like there have been synagogues that have been targeted. Like, what do you have to say about that? Because there are Jewish New Yorkers who say they don't feel welcome, right? And that wasn't verbatim the question you asked them, but that's kind of the point. And so I think it was interesting how Mdani didn't even want to touch that at all. Is that some foreshadowing, or is that just maybe he didn't want to get into the weeds of it? They both done it. They both avoided questions, so it's not like a super big deal, but that is very telling right there.
Okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
You're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to. Like, you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on
Good
a lot more than
follow-up.
I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job. He may have different views, but in many ways, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, you know, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for
Please.
the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I will use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
Did you?
There is a bus that
Well,
goes.
but I know, but if you flew, that's a lot quicker too. You know,
She was she trying to get him? Like, what do you mean? Why did you fly? Like, what? Okay, should he not fly here? What are you? Hey man, put me on the press corps, all right? I got some better questions to ask. Come on now.
I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a
And
long
Mr.
time.
President, I was wondering
Right.
if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you
Oh,
clear
wow.
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
up yesterday?
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters. Beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that. But certainly we want them to remain a
Trump.
great force, and they are.
Mr. President, and you did a piece in all the 9 months
Yes.
around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers
Now
have
share
of
with
wanting their
us.
tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that
What a
President
pivot.
Trump should do a peace and work hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere. But
Right.
do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues
boy
to be
doing
work that has to be
backflips
done
right
no matter
now.
where we're speaking of.
That was not the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would have loved to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it could go
bad.
in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I think you really have a chance to make it great. And I appreciate
Mr.
what you're counting on.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable, and I can tell you
Wow.
that there were more New Yorkers who voted for
Wow.
President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living, and I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. One or two more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone crazy. Outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting.
All right, that's enough. That's enough of them. But yeah, I think, listen, Mandani knows how to slither out of questions. So does Trump. I mean, that's what politicians do. They know how to slither their way out of questions. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know, we'll see what happens. Like I said, only time will tell, and we'll see if New York turns a new leaf, and you know, he makes some changes that actually benefit a lot of people, or he makes some changes and he messes everything up. I think we'll find out soon enough. So, you know, I wish him the best of luck because, like I said, you know, I want to see New York succeed. I wouldn't want New York to fail.